I'm Adam Cadu, and it's time to master the art of real heart alignment, where you live, work, and play from your personal power as energy aligns, your gifts flow, and life simply works. These life-changing conversations are designed to help you to see what you're not seeing, hear what you're not hearing, and to be who you're not being, as the world needs more heart-centered leaders now more than ever. Are you ready to say no to living a half-hearted life and say yes instead to boldly living from a place of real heart alignment? Welcome to the Adam Cadu podcast. First of all, yet again, thank you so very much for being here and taking a part in this free live experience. I have poured my heart and my soul into this work because I know what it's like to be stuck in our heads and, get into all the fears, the doubts, the inadequacies, and that literally can determine our world, the world we see, the world we live in, and the results we get or we don't get. And there was a time years ago that I was just like so stuck in my head and so miserable, and I just wanted to help people. I just cared deeply for people. I always had as a kid. I just wanted to help people. But I was getting so caught up in the funnels and the strategies and the tools and the tactics and, learning from this mentor's strategy and this mentor's strategy that I was just like so confused, so overwhelmed. And every bit of progress that I got, there would be some point in time that something didn't work there. It's kind of a dead end. And then I'm shifting and I'm pivoting and I'm throwing new stuff at the wall. And little by little, inch by inch, it just really chipped away at me as a human being. It hurt my heart, right? Because I, at that point in time, was so fearful of how other people would see me. I was so wrapped up in needing to be liked, needing to be perceived a certain way, because in my mind, that's safety, right? If people like me, I'm safe. That was kind of stemmed from, childhood growing up. Been around a number of fights in my childhood. So it was like, if people like me in my neighborhood, then I'm cool, right? They won't pick on me. They won't try to fight me. They won't beat me up. So it was like, that was growing up, is like, if you're liked, you're safe. But in entrepreneurship and representing a brand, a personal brand, you're not going to have the opportunity to put yourself online and to really stand for what you're standing for, and to not have people, not like you or possibly even just reject you altogether. And so when I started selling early on, it was like such a hard thing to do, because I just knew I could help this person. If they just say yes to me, I can help them. But I would get, no after no after no, doing sales calls and, things of that nature. And it was like, it would hurt so bad, because my ego is just like, why don't they like me? Why won't they let me help them? What's wrong with me? I was making everything about me. And it was kicking my butt. And then I had all this meaning, I'm no good at this. I'm not cut out for that. All this stuff, all this baggage. Let me go here. I'm still wrapping. All this stuff. And when I finally got to a point where I realized, hey, look, this isn't about me. This isn't about my needs or my ego, or this isn't even about me making my money, right? Because that was the thing back then too, is it's like, I heard selling is service, right? And it's like, that makes so much sense. Yes, just serve people. But then I would constantly shift back to this place of fear and, insecurities and doubts. And I was working from this place of just like, lack, scarcity. And it was, the world was just closing in until I just got to a point where I was just like, look, forget it. I'm going to go out and I'm going to help people. I'm going to be of service. I'm just going to forget it all. I'm just going to go help people. And I put out an offer, and we'll talk about this on day number 3. I'll talk about some certain ways to, put some, I won't get too far ahead of myself, but certain approaches to business that allows you to get results, fairly quickly. So you want to make sure that you stick around for day 3. And also, we are going to be doing some fun giveaways. So take notes, because we might possibly be asking some questions. And if you are paying attention, we'll make it pretty easy on you. But if we're paying attention, there's going to be a giveaway at the end where you can have a possible chance to win a VIP day with me, along with $250 cash and also a $250 credit for my Heart Center Selling Mastery program, which I will talk about at the end of our time together. So if you're the type of person that does not like the idea of me extending an olive branch to those who really understand that this is the work and get their feathers ruffled if I present an offer at the end, then maybe this isn't for you. So I'm going to pour my heart out, give you the best of the best over these 3 days. But just know that even if I was to distill the greatest out of my programs and my teachings and my lessons, the things that I've taught my students through the years, if I was just to distill it all down, I still couldn't fit it into 3 days. And so just know that there's more goodness coming at the end. So we're gonna play full out, and you're gonna learn a lot about sales. But I will dare to say, if you're open to it, there's gonna be a transformation for you inside this work as well, inside these 3 days together. And so back to the fear, doubt, and scarcity, but it was like I decided to put out just a special invite. I said, hey, look, I'm ready to serve. I'm ready to help. At this point, I finally stood for my value. I'm ready to help. I'm ready to serve. I said, I'm doing free coaching calls. I'm promising you guys a breakthrough on this call. And I had like 30 or 40 people sign up for this call, which I had a small audience. Like I don't even think, Instagram, maybe like a few hundred people on Instagram. I had a Facebook profile. It was just like I was making it all too hard. I didn't run any Facebook ads, nothing. I just put this out from my heart. And I had so many people sign up for this call. But I would serve and help them on this call, and then I would shift to the offer, right? And sometimes people didn't even see it coming because like I'm promising a breakthrough that said, nothing about a sales or an offer on this call. And so I would just shift and start talking about my offer, and it just felt so icky and just misaligned, and I just wanted to hide. I'm just like sitting there like, what are you doing? And I made so many mistakes when it came to sales and selling. I would break a sweat. I would stutter. I would stammer. Like it was just the hardest thing for me to do. If I would do a webinar back in the day, I'd literally have to take like a month off to decompress because my nervous system was fried, like absolutely fried. And by making all the mistakes and figuring out, I don't like what I did there, I will never do that again. Little by little, inch by inch, I really figured out how to sell. And I had a mentor of mine who kind of like brought this up to me. I was doing and I get ahead of myself on these a little bit, but I was doing sales calls for some of my mentors where I enrolled over $1 million in sales within a year's time for them and myself collectively. And it was, I had numerous people on those calls saying, I don't feel like this was a sales call. And I had one of my mentors back then that said, you have a knack for sales. Light bulb moment. Something that I suffered so greatly at for a very long time, and I just stayed in the game. And this is important for you too. If you're taking your lumps, if things aren't working well, if you're thinking about getting a job or phoning it in, I had so many entrepreneur friends over the last 2 years that just stopped, that just quit. It got too hard because there was like a boom of course creators and coaches in 2020. A lot of business, a lot of people seeing some successes. And then things just kind of like tighten back up a little bit. And then the people that, just kind of had some, dumb luck off the start or, had some excitement that they put out off the start and people really felt into that energy. We're going to talk a lot about energy. They saw some successes, but then things got hard and they're done with it. But when you can stay in the game and learn your lessons, you too will have experiences to share. And there was so much pain and suffering through sales that now I'm able to teach this, and in a way that's aligned with the heart-centered leaders, the people like you who have a huge heart and who are up to big things and who care deeply about the people that they're here to work with. And that there's something greater for you. You're the type of person who will do whatever it takes to make it happen because this is your life's work and you care deeply. And so this is the work. And we could do all the flashy strategies and techniques and all this stuff. We could do all the fun stuff, all the fancy stuff. But if we don't get to a point where we can lean fully in, when we care deeply, we have compassion and conviction. These two words you'll hear me say time and time again. Compassion, caring deeply for somebody, understanding their pain, caring enough about them to know what they're really going through. Years ago, it was like we could talk about the transformation in our work. Well, you work with me, you'll get these results and people are buying. But now there's so many people in so much pain that if you're not speaking and understanding and really dissecting where that person is and speaking to them where they are, then you're going to miss them. They're going to be like, yeah, I would love to have this transformation, but I got all these fires. I got all this stuff over here that I got to work on first. So let's speak to people, have that compassion, right? Caring deeply for people. And that will compel you forward when you really care about somebody. It will compel you into action to where you're not so caught up in the thinking. And I have a mentor that talks about, saving somebody that's drowning in the water. They don't care what kind of boat you come in. They don't care if it's painted or looks polished or the colors on it, the branding on it, maybe you got a logo on it. They don't care. They just want out of that pain. They want out of that suffering, they want out of that water. So when you can care deeply and have that compassion, you move. But also this conviction. And these two together create this strength, this power, if you will. This conviction in your heart that your work matters. That you're here to do certain things in your time on this earth. Standing for your value, standing for your time, and honoring the creation that you're creating, your offers or your coaching, honoring that, this conviction in your heart that your work matters, because it does. Because if you go out and if you change one person's life, just one person, you're essentially not changing one person's life. Because that person will show up differently, even if it's just in that moment in time, even in that day. They're going to show up differently. They're going to treat people differently. They're going to see themselves in a different light. And they're going to communicate and interact with people in that moment in time that might have a profound impact on their kids or their significant other or their boss or their coworkers, their family. So anytime we're doing this work, I take this serious. As you can tell, this is conviction, right? This is compassion. I take this work serious because I know that there's work to be done. And there's this ripple effect that when we show up with our hearts, when we care deeply for people, the world changes. This ripple effect happens. It's like when we throw a rock in the pond, right? The ripples go out and out and out and out and out. That pond will never be the same because that one pebble came in. It's different. Even if it's a small change, it's different. And so when we're sitting back, we're in our stuff, we're in our fears, our inadequacy, all this stuff. When we're in our head, we're not in our hearts. When we're not in our hearts, we're dead. So we're going to wake up, have a lot of fun during our time together, and make sure that, yet again, stay with me here. I get to going on some riffs and some tangents, feel into the energy of things. Let this be something to where, and we'll talk about this on day 2, actually, these mental filters. On day 2, we're going to talk about how to use communication and certain languaging and sequences of language, leadership languages, I like to call it, to bypass your audience's mental filters, because we're always filtering information. We're either deleting it, nope, that doesn't fit for me, gone. We're distorting it. We see it in a certain way where it's just like, okay, I can fit this in my mental model. I can fit it because I've shaped it in a certain way. Or we generalize it. We just lump it in with something else in our minds. So we're always filtering information. So do me a favor right here and right now. I do a lot of energy work inside my program with my coaching clients. I love to start out calls just to make sure that we're kind of like grounded in this powerful place. Just doing exercises to let go, to center a little bit. And so for a quick minute, let's get ourselves in what's called this like learning mode. If you will, find a spot on your wall ahead. And if you're real close to your wall, you might back up a little bit. Find a spot on your wall. And this is a great way to, release energy as well. We'll talk about a number of certain ways to do this. Because sometimes we get this anxiety or this tension, or there's just like, fear or frustration in our body. And if we don't have certain tools in our tool bag to go to pull ourselves out of that, if we end up staying in that state for a week or a month at a time, and you'd be surprised. And I would love to know, before I get into that, I would love to know, on average, and be honest here, take an objective look. How much time do you spend in your daily waking life, on average, day in and day out, an average day, not your best day, not your worst day, an average day, how many hours do you spend in your head trying to figure things out, which resembles most likely this disempowered state? Versus, and let's look at that, like how many hours are we spending there? Versus how many hours are you spending in like this flow state? The state of like just going out, doing your work, no real resistance, no resignation, no resignment, no giving up, no slumping over in our chairs, pouting. How many hours are you in that disempowered state versus this flow state, disempowered state? And if you really take a look at it, those unresourceful states, those disempowered states where you just don't have your resources, you don't have your heart, you don't have your sense of humor, you don't have your sense of clarity, you don't have the conviction and the compassion. Those unresourceful states, if you really look at it, if you're not, this is different. Like you could be resting, right? And being in your power. You could be laying there watching TV and still in your power. But if you're laying there watching TV, feeling guilty, worrying about the work you didn't get done, worrying about the world, worrying about the future, that's in that disempowered category. So really take a look at this and just see if you could shift even 10%, 20%. Let's get a little crazy and say if you could shift 50% of that, where you're in your heart, you're in this flow state, you're caring deeply about people, you're moving, or you're resting with the intention of showing up even more powerfully the next time you do something. Just that small little shift right there. Think about what that would look like just living that way for a year, or even 3 years or 5 years. And look at the alternative. What are you missing out on? What is it costing you to stay in this disempowered state for so much time? What's the cost, the actual cost? What are you losing out on like over a year's time when it comes to revenue or even life experiences? Like, let's get clear on that. Clarity is king. When you can sit here and identify this, all of a sudden you're like, okay, done with that. Done with that way of being. I'm going to make sure that I am staying aware and conscious and considerate of when I'm in that state, and I'm going to have tools to shift out of there. So that way I can stay in this powerful state. Like I said, you can be in a powerful state when you're resting and chilling or working on something or anything, but you can be on a disempowered state doing that too if you're in your head. So let's get clear on that. And if you want to throw that number in the chat for a little bit of accountability, how many hours a day are you in that disempowered state on average? I've asked students that before and they're like 6 to 8. Like it's a good chunk of the day. And there was a point in time where I had a mentor I was working very closely with, very successful gentleman, and I was doing everything he told me to do. I was doing the webinar, writing copy, the emails. I was doing everything, like literally everything. And I just was not seeing results. I was just not seeing results. Like it was just like everything was hard. And I had this epiphany moment one day. It was just like, where are you working from? I was working from this place of fear. This isn't going to work. Nobody's going to buy this. This is wasting my time. I was looking at my bank account, shriveling up and even going into debt. That's where I was focused at. And so when I shifted where I was working from, I shifted out of fear and I shifted to this place of, yet again, caring deeply for people. All of a sudden, the copy that I was writing became more clear. The messages that I was working on became more clear, more powerful. The offers I put together during that time were like rock solid. The way I was showing up, the presentations I was creating, the emails I was sending, it all came from this powerful place of not fear, but of love. And so in our time together, we're going to make sure that we're working from this powerful place of love, because it will change everything for you. Everything. We haven't even gotten to the slides yet. So let's go here. So real quick on that exercise, take a minute, stare at that dot on the wall, stare at someplace on the wall, and allow your peripheral vision to open up where you can see as much of the room as you can. So expand your vision. So you're looking at one place, and then you allow your eyes to gaze out, and you're able to see more of the room. More data, more awareness, more energy is coming in at this aspect. When we get in this place of fight or flight, we don't have this surrounding, right? We're right here focused on that one thing. We're so much in our head to where we just have this like one point. But when we can take a minute to just look around, and even, this is beautiful out in nature because you're able to like take in the trees, the sounds, all the senses to get yourself out of this like tense fight or flight state. And you'd be surprised. I had a friend years ago, a fellow coach of mine that I was having a conversation with, and I was talking about fear versus love. And I shared with her about fear. And she's like, I just don't think I get into fear. And I said, okay. I said, tell me something that you're working on that you have resistance around. And she was just like, well, I have been wanting to put out this offer, but I'm not quite sure if that's the right offer. And, and I was like, how long have you been, wrestling with this? She's like, a few months at least, probably longer than that. I said, okay, do you see that as a powerful place to work from? Do you feel like you're working from love and caring about people? She said, no. I said, do you see it as you're working from this place of like needing to get it right, perfectionism, don't want to waste an opportunity, don't want to miss, don't want to waste time? Oh, I am working from fear. So it's like sometimes we don't fully see where we're working from. And there's times before I had somebody I was working with that I was doing box breathing. 4 breaths in, which is a powerful, powerful exercise. 4 breaths in, hold it for 4. 4 breaths out, hold it for 4, and then back in. And I, at one point in time, could not hold my breath out. If I breathed out and I tried to hold my breath, I would get so much anxiety, and it was just like I was drowning. And I told my friend about that, and she's like, you're locked in fight or flight. And I'm like, no, I don't think so. I'm feel pretty calm. And she's like, no, you're for you to like, have that like struggle. She's like, you're locked in fight or flight. And I was like, all right, I'll look into that, and I get into that. And I did. And once I started doing that more and more and more, and really getting into it, relaxing my body, getting in a powerful peak state, I was able to breathe better, and I was able to think more clearly. And so you'd be surprised at times how much resistance and fear we're actually working from, when sometimes it's just like, no, I'm cool. I'm just doing my thing. I just need more money or more time, or, need the kids to behave better, or, just need the economy to do this, or need to get the presidents to figure it out, or, this, that, the other thing. So it's like we're waiting for this moment of time, thinking that that's going to be the thing. But anytime we work from those circumstances of fear, doubt, scarcity, not enough time, not enough money, not enough energy, when we work from circumstances, you're simply going to perpetuate and repeat those circumstances and build those as a habit. And then we wonder why we just can't get going sometimes, because we've built it as a habit. So let's build this new habit, this new way of being, of showing up, of caring deeply for other people, and just having some fun, just having some fun. Like that's why we came on this path in the first place, to have some fun. So let's get back to the slides, y'all. Okay, cool. Before I get going, just to let you know that you're in for a treat here. We've got some amazing, amazing, amazing testimonials. At one point in time, when we first did this training, there was over 40 testimonials from this free training alone. So if that doesn't make you want to stick around to really, extract all the goodness that there is in here, I don't know what will. Hopefully this will. But there's been a number of entrepreneurs that had, been in this place of so much resistance, and now they're just showing up with their hearts. They're doing their thing. And so it is. And even if it's a small shift for you, even if you are putting out some things and you're seeing some results on social media and getting some clients here and there, and your business is growing, you're doing some launches, and it's kind of hard, but it's kind of going. Just imagine when you take this work by storm and really start to show up from this place of heart-centered leadership. like really caring about people. It's like, there's been points in times where I just can't chill. I'm like so excited. I just want to go help people, right? Instead, in years past, I'd be sitting on my heels trying to figure it out. So the question again that I asked before is, where are you working from? Where are you working from? Back in the day, I got out of college, I managed a sporting goods store for a little bit. Very stressful environment. I won't even get into all the stories. That'll be another video for another time. But there was just like theft and people talking about guns. And one of my employees was on a phone call when somebody had shot somebody, and like the police came in, or like the last call was from this location, and things like that. It was just like very freaking stressful. I get outside of that work. I'm in radio advertising for a little bit, making my way there. Had some stuff that had some hiccups, and had to leave that, and ended up finding my way a few years later with a digital ad agency. Excuse me, a traditional ad agency, a 25-year-old ad agency that's been around for a number of years. They were to a point in 2008, 2009 where they had lost a couple big clients in that 2008, fear-ridden time, if you will, with people in the housing market. And they brought me on for an account manager of one of their biggest clients at that time. My job was to call around to daycare centers to interview these daycare owners about their playground equipment, because we were essentially helping market and promote the world's best tricycle. This tricycle is like just built tough, and it's like a $250, $300 tricycle. So I'm interviewing these owners of these daycares about their playground equipment and things of that nature, and they got kids screaming in the background. They're wondering what the heck I want and what. And I called over 300 of these places, surveying them about their playground equipment, checking the list, doing my thing. Some of the most angry people hanging up on me and all this stuff, and it was so scarring. It was so scarring. And that was my first experience really of sales. Got my butt kicked, if you will. But I got to a point where we, at this ad agency, we put together a digital marketing package to take to the community and things of that nature. And I was so very excited about it because Facebook ads, Google AdWords, things of that nature was just like brand new. We were figuring it out fast. Nobody else was really offering it at that time. And so we were just like speed to market. And so my very first call, when I'm excited about selling this, I wasn't too excited about selling tricycles, if you will. Didn't sell a single tricycle, by the way. Not with those phone calls. We did online, right? Figured that out. But, I called my first prospect, if you will. Called him up, made my way past the gatekeeper, got him on the phone, and I start trying to talk, and I freeze. After all the trauma I've had from the tricycle saga, if you will, I freeze and I start stuttering and stammering, and I finally find my words after it felt like 30 minutes. The guy was very nice, and he even booked an appointment with me. He didn't end up showing up to that appointment, but I don't blame him whatsoever. I probably wouldn't have either. Like, what? Who is this guy? I couldn't even talk. Literally, it was like that was my whole approach to sales. I was just like trying to figure it out. And I was so scared, so afraid of rejection. And I had an important decision, like an important moment in time after that call. I hung up the phone, and I could have been like, that's it. I'm done. Forget it. Sales isn't for me. But in that moment, I chose a meaning. I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I feel like I, had the hand of God in there, just like, helping me out a little bit. In that moment, I told myself, doesn't get much worse than this. It can't get much worse than this. So instead of being like, oh, I suck, forget it, this isn't for me, placing meaning on that experience, I had the awareness and the humor to say, that was pretty bad. Probably doesn't get much worse than that. And I kept going. And that, digital marketing product that we sold became very successful. And it was, and I started kind of like finding my way with sales, but I would go out and speak to people, and I would break a sweat, and I would stutter and stammer. But people, saw my heart, they saw my energy, they saw past something. And I got to a point where, I am now. Just like looking back, I don't recognize that version of me. I was like 40 pounds overweight. I just was like riddled with anxiety. I would drive to work in the morning just having a pit in my stomach. I'm surprised I didn't have ulcers. And like I was doing my best to navigate this uncertain world, being so new on the scene. But one thing that kept me going was my willingness and my caringness to help people. And so yet again, through the years, I've been able to keep going and to stay focused and to, do more and more and more away with the self-importance of myself, because I see the bigger picture. I see that there's a bigger play here for all of us. We all have work to do. And if we're getting inside our heads, if we're stopping ourselves at every sign of resistance, we're missing a huge opportunity. So if you didn't see some of the messages, we actually put a workbook together for you guys. So if you can go to adamkadu.com/workbook, then you can get that workbook. It's fillable, if you will. I think what the thing is, you have to save it on your desktop or whatever, then you can fill it in. Because if it's just on our Dropbox still, you can't fill it in. So make sure you save it first somewhere where you have ownership of it, and you can fill it in as we go. And maybe there might be some questions that we pull later based off of some of the stuff you fill in there. Maybe. I'm not trying to give that away. So here's the thing. This world is busy, y'all. Busy world. Busy world. So much scrolling, so many people talking, so much more competition, if you will. I don't see it as competition, but so many more people and experts. It's so crazy. It's like, do this way. And then the very next day, people are like, no, don't do that way. Do it this way. And you're like, okay, do it this way. And like, no. This is the reason you want to do it this way. Like, okay. There's so much conflicting information, so much flying at us all day, every day, all the news, the worldly stuff. It's like, it's a lot. And I won't even get into the ideas, like we're only perceiving a small amount of all the stimulus that's coming at us. And what happens is there's so much garbage and there's so much stuff flying at us day in and day out that we forget to sense the energy and the stimulus that really matters. There is this essence working through you at all times. That we've been so distracted and consumed that we no longer feel it. We no longer feel the presence. We no longer feel the connections that we once did, unless you've been training yourself to open your heart and to do this work. And so one of the best things you can do in business and in marketing right here and right now is to find a way to stop other people's worlds. And a mentor of mine, Don Javier, is quoted, I love this quote: if you want to change the world, you must first change yourself. In order to change yourself, you must first stop your world. Stop the thinking, stop all the stuff. And when you stop your world, you change yourself. When you change yourself, you change the world. It's a beautiful quote. But the thing is, we've got to be able to stop our worlds first. And when we stop our worlds and we quiet the thinking, when we can get in our bodies a little bit more and just feel good and flow, then we show up in a way, and our words are poignant in a way that stops other people's worlds. Instead of all the, hey, look at me, and the flashy graphics and the, all the craziness and the, trendy, dances and all that stuff, trying to catch people's attention like everybody else online's doing, your competitive advantage when it comes to showing up and sharing your heart is indeed your heart. Your energy, the essence, the God-given essence, if you will, that's moving through you. When you can channel that and utilize that and allow people to see that light and feel something, man, people are so numbed out right now. If social media is not numbing people out, we got alcohol, we got, tobacco. It's crazy to even think about the whole vaping thing now. It's like so many kids are doing crap like that. There's so many ways to numb ourselves out. We're distracted and destroyed a bit. So many people are just like in a lot of pain. But when you can stop your world and have a shift, all of a sudden people start to take notice and they want to know what you know. They're like, there's something about that person. I want to know more. What are they into? What are they doing? They take notice. So the best thing you can do really to shift your business from right here and right now, which we're going to dive deeper into this today, is to stop your world. Stop thinking. Life consists of two things: time and energy. Time, we cannot control time. I do believe through even Einstein's theory of relativity, we can influence time depending on our state, but we cannot control time. It's going to go on by. We're on a timeline. It is what it is. Time goes on and on and on outside of this 3D experience, if you will. But time is what it is. We cannot control it. But energy, we can. We can shape energy. We can influence energy. We can maneuver energy. We can store energy. We can exude energy. We can control energy. And so when you learn to feel and understand and have the awareness, even right now, I can feel energy in my hands. And you might have done exercises like that before in the past. It's like you put your hands together, you can feel, if you're tuned in, if you're not so distracted and so tense and rigid and all the things, you can feel energy. And there was one point in time that I actually started kind of like seeing energy off people. You can see energy, but we've been trained, life is what it is. And that's it. We have our 5 senses, right? Sight, taste, touch, smell, hearing. Is that 5? 5 senses, but there's more higher senses. We have this sense, this understanding, this awareness, this knowing that we seem to forget about or disregard. Or if you talk about it with other people, sometimes you're looked at as cuckoo or crazy or woo-woo. But it's those of you who know how to shift and shape and mold energy that are able to shift and shape and mold yourself, which allows you to shift and shape and mold the world. And so life consists of 2 things. So many times during the day, we're trying to manage our day by time. Instead of managing your day by time, manage your day by managing your energy. Then you'll have plenty of time. And that's a whole nother conversation. We'll probably get into at some point in our time together, this, limited perspective on time, if you will. We're going to shift that. And we're going to, yet again tomorrow, on Tuesday next week for part 2, we're going to dive in to talk about how to shift and reshape and remold people's perspectives and their beliefs, because your audience right now has certain beliefs that are keeping them safe and stuck. And if you don't understand how to use language to their greatest benefit, then they're going to stay stuck. We could show up with powerful energy, but if we don't say anything, they're going to be like, what? You look awesome. I feel your vibe, but like, what's up, right? So we got to be able to use language in this too. So today we're talking about energy. On Tuesday next week, we're talking about language. And on day 3, we're going to bring it together to show you how to do certain things to start to grow your audience and your business more and more and more. So a lot of fun. But even you might see it in our time together, or even you saw it today, there's going to be times where your mind will throw out your greatest excuse or some reason to tune out. Your body might be having this experience of like, man, I'm jiving with Adam. I feel it. I sense it. I understand it. Like he's on par with this. And then your mind's like, you need to check Facebook, or I need to, do this, or I got to do that, or I got to do that. There's been points in time, and, I mentioned one of my mentors, Don Javier, earlier. I got a beautiful opportunity to spend some time with him in Dallas, Texas, a few years ago. And he's such a tremendous energy worker, if you will. He's a shaman, if you will, for those of you who don't know. Most of you on this know. He was speaking to us, right? And I could tell there was like energy work happening. I could tell there was like huge shifts and surrendering and letting go happening in my body. And my mind just starts firing up. Just chatter, trying to keep me out of this transformation, if you will. And then my body starts acting up, aches and pains and distractions and all that stuff. It was my ego fighting like hell to keep me out of this spiritual awakening, or this growth happening, if you will. I also did had Reiki, energy work, energy healing, done, I don't know, 5-6 years ago or so. Very similar experience. So when she was doing energy work, there was certain things in my body that were like trying to fight. Like there was like this huge release happening, but there was this clench, the death clench at the same time. And so at any given point in time, we have our heart and our minds, they're battling for attention and intention. If we are using our intention, we're casting our will to create and to bring about that which we want in life. If we're doing it right, we're working from our hearts. But if we're thinking and look, we got to be able to use our brains, right? I'm not going to say, hey, just turn your brain completely offline and your heart will figure it out where to go. We got to be able to use our brains. But we get to thinking from this disempowered state so freaking much. Thinking. And then all of a sudden we're in left field and we're like, I don't even know. I don't even know where I'm at. I don't know how this all plays out. It's not going to work. So there's this fight, this duel going on at all times. But when you can come to this place of merging, of allowing these two things to work together synergistically, synchronistically, all of a sudden there is more flow states. There's more fun. There's more excitement. There's more joy, happiness, all this stuff. But yet again, this is winning the show. And this is part of the ego, right? The ego wants to keep you safe and stuck right where you are, right here and right now. Familiarity is safety to the ego. And also, if we're struggling, the ego is going to get some sort of like, gratification from that. Like if we make it through this, the ego is going to be like, I did it. There was nothing else, no energy, no synchronicities, no manifesting. It was me that brought this about. I promise you, if you're working from ego, there's going to be a lot of suffering. And suffering is part of the experience. We can't deny that. But this ego is going to make it 100,000 times worse because it's going to get into self-importance. Why me? Why can't I break through? Why is somebody else having success and I'm not? And we beat ourselves down because of that. Are y'all getting this? Let me know in the chat. Is this coming through good? You feeling me knocking? I love this. And so here's the thing. What I discovered for myself and countless students that I've worked with through the years is when you can master this art of heart-centered selling. And when I use the word selling, a lot of people have resistance to selling, right? Sales. Oh, icky. Ugh. But to me, selling and also coaching, it's one and the same. It's essentially leading. It's essentially leading in a way that has that other person trust you to be able to be open to the idea that they're missing something, that there is indeed something in store for them. So selling and leading, if I use the word selling, if I use the word leading, they are one and the same to me. Because I could, try to have somebody, it's like, hey, look, I want to go eat at this restaurant. Somebody might be like, no, I want to eat at this other restaurant. At that point, I'm selling. Like, I'm going to try to sell them on the idea, or I'm leading, right? We seem to think selling is only the interaction when we ask for dollars, but we're selling all day, every day. And if you can't get to this point in being comfortable in leading or selling, then it's going to be this world that's a little bit more closed off, a little bit more scarce. And so mastering the art of heart-centered selling, in my experience, is the fastest, and my clients' experience, they would back me on that, is the fastest, most effective way to get in alignment and to grow and scale your business. And so when we can work from this place, life works, business works. Things change. You no longer are so wrapped up in needing or convincing. We shouldn't be convincing anyone of anything. We should present things in a way that allows them the opportunity to make an empowered decision for themselves. That is sales, that is leading. It's not manipulation, right? Manipulation is like using things against people and guilt. I was actually, after I launched my Heart Center Selling Mastery program, I decided to see what else was out there. After I was having success about it, I'm just like, what else is out there? And I get into this program. This guy that, he kind of has the tagline of elite. I'll just throw that out there. But anyways, he was teaching, just literally spamming people, like teaching people the stuff that you get messages sometimes. You're just like, oh, like, yuck, what are you doing? And he was teaching how to use guilt and shame to get people to buy. I was appalled. I'm like, how could you, like, what? No, there's like such a more effective way and a heart aligned way, but people were eating it up, right? And for me, it was just like, that made me rally even more about doing the work that I'm here to do, because there's a old school way of selling that does not fit in today. You can learn from some amazing peeps that have built some amazing businesses that are teaching selling. The chances are that's not your energy. It's not the hard charging, take no prisoners, do whatever it takes mentality, because you care about people. And so this heart-centered selling, heart-centered leading, is the way to more alignment, more growth, more fun, more freedom and flexibility in your business. And I will continue to prove that to you. But first, we got to lead with our hearts. Lead with your heart first. Feel into it. If you're on this call, chances are you're a feeler, even if on the Myers-Briggs it says you're a thinker. I don't know. I think maybe a lot of us have been trained to be thinkers through the years, because at one point in time, that's all I was doing was thinking. Doesn't mean that was aligned with my personality, but we've got to be able to sense and to feel into things first. And there's a lot of people that like out online that are like, if I can just grow my audience, if I can just get more following, I'm going to keep doing this like TikTok and Instagram stuff, which if you're having fun with it, fine. Absolutely. Absolutely. But if you are working from this premise or this expectation that if I grow my audience, then I'll be able to grow my business. There's been so many influencers have come out online. They're just like, yeah, I've had like 250,000, 500,000 people following me, but I'm flat broke. Like, I'm trying to sell t-shirts and stuff. People just aren't buying, right? Everybody's trying to do the merchandising thing, the merch. But that is not a direct correlation between, business. It's not the amount of people. You could have a small audience and have it converting well. And I'm proof of that. I don't have a big audience. I kind of took the last couple of years off of Instagram and didn't do a lot of social media and stuff. And I went through and like cleaned up a whole bunch of dormant accounts on my Instagram. I once had, a few thousand. Now I don't have a ton. Doesn't bother me any, because I'm going to continue to lead with my heart from where I am today. And I'm going to continue to grow. And those people that lives I touch, those are the people whose lives I touch. And I'm okay with that. And we'll grow from here. And as long as I don't get caught up in the ego of it or the fear, and I can promise you, like a couple years ago, I had this huge transformation around the idea of like needing to be liked. I literally let it go. It was beautiful. Things were working. Business was great. It was doubling my revenue like each and every year, like hockey stick growth. And then in 2022, my second little buddy, I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. My second little buddy was born. That dude from day one just did not like to sleep. Did not like to sleep. And it was dad's responsibility because mom at the time was going through, postpartum stuff. Don't want to share her story, but she had health challenges as well. And so for a year straight, I'm getting like maybe 2 to 3 hours of a chunk of time of sleep. Maybe if I'm lucky, 6 hours a night of like deeply interrupted sleep. And I got to a point where just like I was losing my mind, and we were doing the sleep doctors and the sleep trainings and all this stuff. And the dude would just like not sleep. He would just wake up freaking out, stressing out. Dad's stressed, right? So I'm like stressed too. And so the last couple of years have been spent just making sure we can survive, right? And I feel like I lost so much of the practices, the heart center practices that I was doing for a very long amount of time. And so the last couple of years, business was on the back burner. I was lucky to work 3 or 4 hours a day, and by work, wasn't really working. I was just trying to collect myself enough to get some stuff completed. It was absolutely crazy. But it pained my heart because I knew I wanted to help people. I knew I had work, and I knew I had, some growth, some momentum that I'd been urging for years prior. Some momentum that I lost, if you will, which there's no such thing as that. But I had to set my business aside. I was essentially with the kids like 21 hours a day because I was up with them all night. And then I'm with them in the morning while mom works. And then I get to work from like 1 to 4, 1 to 5, which is like my worst time during the day to work. Like that's just like my least focused time during the day, whatever the case may be. I think the sun's too high in the sky. I don't know. But business took a backseat. And I lost a lot of the practices I was doing, the heart center practices. I used to meditate each and every morning, and I would just feel so much love, and I would bring that love to the day, and people were taking notice. And so over the last, 6 months especially, some things have changed in my life. Environments have changed. Relationships have changed. And I now have the space to double down on the work of the exercises, of the releasing of energies, of the reprogramming how I feel, and my ability to sense energy and sense opportunity and sense, direction. And so now I'm just like blazing a trail. And I hope that something I say in our time together inspires you to just show up and stand up a little bit taller, to dig a little bit deeper, to care a little bit more, and just bring that energy to the day and share it with others. Because the world needs that energy. The world needs that light. And I promise you, more than doing the flashy dances and the trending audios, when you can share your heart, it's going to freaking rock people. Like really open up your heart. We've all had our hearts hurt and broken. We all have these protection mechanisms. But when you can share your heart fully, it's going to stop people's worlds. They're going to listen. Your thoughts are going to be more clear. Your message is going to be more clear and more poignant. It's going to hit them deeper. It's going to help them to move. And that's what we need right here and right now. That's what your people need. And they're waiting to see something out of you and hear something in a certain way that allows them to be like, you know what? She's right. He's right. I got to pay more attention to this. I'm invested. Next video that you publish, next thing that you do, next email that you send out, they're hunting it. They're watching for it. They're waiting for it. And that's because there's been a shift in you. And that doesn't happen by accident. That doesn't happen by waking up and doing the same thing again that you did yesterday, thinking the same thoughts over and over and over again. It's going to happen by keeping yourself in an environment like in our time together to care deeply, to open up your heart, to feel and to sense. So I like this question. So is your market sophisticated? Have they seen all the flashy stuff? Do they understand what you're doing when it comes to marketing and sales, right? A lot of these people that are online that are buying courses and buying coaching and things of that nature, they've seen it, right? And so it's like there's a lot of strategies. It's like we're constantly chasing the newest, greatest strategy. Oh, I like this strategy. When people pick up on it quick, they see it as just another ploy, right? But they can't deny your energy. They can't deny your heart. There's a professor from from Harvard, who made a hardcore case to show that buying decisions are first made in our subconscious, in our sense, if you will, long before we make it analytically. So when you're speaking to this person's mind, you're trying to convey information in the modules or the lessons in your program, or the benefits or the features, right? You get 16 PDFs, you get this, you get that, you get the other thing. If you're just speaking to somebody's mind, hoping that you say something that has them think that I want to buy, you're missing a huge part of it. It's like 95% of the buying decision is instinctual. It's a feeling. And there actually did studies of this. Max Planck Institute in Leipzig, Germany. They did some research where they hooked up electrodes to people's minds, and they showed them something to make a buying decision. And the electrodes, the places in their mind, would light up long before they finally said, okay, yes, I want that. Up to like 8 seconds on average, they would say. So it's like there's something that you're missing if you're not speaking to the heart and other people. If you're not working from this energetic place, if you're just working from this analytical messaging, I need to nail the message and say things in a certain way type of deal. If we're not nailing the energy, we're missing it. There's also this huge fallacy of massive value. If I just put enough value out there, just give them all, just stack my webinar full of like the best of the best, then they will like me and then they will buy. But yet again, there's so much information online these days. You can't just give value. You've got to be able to speak to people in a different way. And this says, if you're putting massive value out into the marketplace, if that was enough, where there's so many people who are share tremendous value for years, but are still frustrated and broke. I was one of these people years ago. I was putting out, like I said earlier, I was putting out value. I was doing all the things, right? The value is actually in shifting people's perspectives. It's in dismantling beliefs. It's in connecting deeper with their energy and leading them where they want to be. And there's this element of energy, and even in neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, it was very cool to see that some of the things that I was learning and, after making all the mistakes and learning by myself, that there's actually like practices in NLP, and there's this concept of pacing and leading, which to me, it's simply like energy. You're matching and connecting with that person's energy. And yes, it's like, it gets nuanced of like you position your body like theirs and stuff. I want to connect with that person. I want to feel a resonance with that person. And even online, I can feel some of you. I can feel your hearts and your caringness. And I can connect with that. I can speak from that place into that place. And so there's this pacing and leading of connecting energetically where they are, and then showing them what's possible from this place of caring for them. And I care for my students. You'd be hard pressed to find anybody that I've ever worked with that said, yeah, Adam didn't really care for my results. You'd be hard pressed to find that person, because it's just not true. I care deeply for people, and I give people all I got. Give my students all I got to make sure that they're set up for success and doing the things they need to do to get the results they're after so they can be where they want to be. So, massive value. Okay, this is fun. I'm going to take this off here. So, the paradox box. You've probably heard the concept before of like living inside a box, right? You got this box. And for me, it's like, if there was a proverbial box, what would consist of the walls of that box? What would be the 4 walls? And for me, it became very clear very quick. there's going to be this element of this glass ceiling, right? How we see ourselves and how we show up, the thoughts we think, are going to determine what's possible for ourselves. And this thing is often called the invisible glass ceiling because we can't see it. But it's there. If you consistently have these same results, I have a friend who's in a certain program who's seeing the same number of students each time. That was her glass ceiling. And she had to shift how she thought about business, how she felt about business. She had to have a transformation around energy, the energy of business, in order for her to break through that glass ceiling. And she finally did. There's also the rock bottom. So this is like when you're just down in the dumps, feel like life is kicking you down. Or also this could be seen as this place of like no longer existing in this world. And I would say that to me is a powerful place. When we can project ourselves to the end of days where we're going to be looking back at this life, I do that often. I will put myself at the end of days, and I'm going to live to be 120. I'm just saying it now. So it's a long time from now. Looking back objectively and really asking questions like, did I play full out? Or did I phone it in? Did I shy away? Did I really care about people? Did I make an impact, right? We're going to be faced with some hard questions at the end of our rope, long time from now, but one of these days. And that motivates me, that inspires me to show up and to play a bigger game. And so there's that rock bottom of like, oh, man, no, I just totally was in fear the whole freaking time. I didn't really take any chances. I didn't stand for anything. I was such a pushover. I just needed to be liked the whole time. I just fit in. Ouch, that rock bottom. Also, there's attachments of certain ways of doing things. And the ego loves familiarity, right? So it's like attached to the past, how things were. Like, even the idea of momentum earlier is like I was attached to this idea of momentum. We're attached to our suffering. We're attached to, baggage of the past. Things that people said, we're attached to that. And so that keeps us stuck in this box as well. And then we've got this default future, this future that we see that's more dim and grim, that's not so inspiring. It's like something happened. We're looking into the future. And we're essentially bringing our past to the future and seeing it as it's not going to work out, or there's going to be, possible reasons to be afraid. Maybe you're putting an offer out again. It didn't go well before. It's like your default future is it's not going to go well again. So we're boxed in again. And so to be able to eradicate this box, two things must happen. One is to become aware and conscious that there is no box. It's an illusion, right? Those things are illusions. And the way to make sure that you do not work inside this box and you break the mold and you become more unreasonable in life, you stand a little bit taller, you shift and shape the mold, is to become hyper present in this moment. And the only way to do that, to shift and shape this, to throw away the box, is to be present, to double down on being present. And so that's why this training is called Embodying a Powerful Presence. To get out of the same old ways of doing things that leads to little growth, little results. And let's have a quantum shift in how we show up. And most people are working backwards. How do I get people to buy? What should I sell? What do they want? How do I make more money? These questions are limiting. When we can ask ourselves questions instead of what makes me matter? What can I do today to help more people? What energy do I need to bring to the day that allows myself to make an impact? Those are more empowering questions. And so we're often so consumed with how do I make more money? How do I make this work? Those questions are limited. They're not going to get you to where you want to be. And there's the famous quote, right? The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your questions. So when we can shift our questions and stop working backwards and instead work powerfully from where you stand today, I'm all good with you casting a vision, but most people cast their visions from a disempowered place. If you cast your vision from a powerful place, then you're going to have a powerful vision. And every time you think about or connect with that vision, because you created it from a powerful place, you're going to have more power in the moment. But it starts with where you are right here and right now. And so a lot of times we're working backwards. So I've had a just amazing opportunity to work with some amazing peeps. You know, Jim Fortin, Brandon Lucero, James Wedmore, as I mentioned earlier, those mentors, I was able to do sales calls for them early on. And in a year's time, I enrolled $1 million in sales for these guys and myself doing sales calls, where my conversion rate was right around 80%, which is just crazy. It's just like I came from this place of hating sales, of having so much baggage around sales, of getting beat up early on in sales. And now I crave these at-bat moments to hold space for somebody to make an empowered decision for themselves. And that's what sales is. Make an empowered decision for themselves. And so my grandpa, who I consider to be the greatest salesman alive in his day, no longer with us, greatest salesman ever, it didn't dawn on me until a lot of years later. You know, he had all these like accolades, these plaques and trophies from sales. And for me, just looking at him, and like I said, I didn't think about this until years later, just thinking of him, there's nothing about him that screams salesman. He was just so nice and caring and considerate and funny. My friends just adored him. And it kind of like when I saw this and saw how successful he was and how he was able to provide a great life for, his family, my mother, and even my grandma for years, was still around, living off of what grandpa was able to do when he was here. And it's wild that we get this stigma of like what sales is. And he literally, you could see it. He cared about people. And I had actually worked at this same company he worked with towards the end of his days. I was, for the summer, came back and I was stocking some shelves, and I would see him just coming and going. He's just going out on these sales calls. There wasn't a lot of stress. There wasn't a lot of pressure. There wasn't a lot of need, lack. There wasn't a lot of ego on the line. He was just going out to help people. You could just tell by his energy. And so this just broke the mold for me. Like, this was my guy, right? Like my favorite person on this planet when he was here. And he broke the mold of what's possible when it comes to sales and selling. And I got that opportunity to like have that epiphany moment to see that. And we no longer have to see as somebody who's in sales or presenting offers as a sleazy salesperson, because it's just not true. Chances are, unless you're like me and was trying all these tactics and strategies early on that felt so icky, unless you were like me where you're testing a lot of stuff, chances are you couldn't cross the line to be an icky salesperson if you wanted to. You might have done some things where you're just like, oh, that felt awful. Oh my gosh, like I had. But that's not you. That doesn't need to be a part of your identity. You can see yourself as somebody who is of service, of caring for people. You can shift it. And I would love to have you entertain this idea that you are always selling. I said that earlier. Even if you have a conversation with your significant other of where we're eating tonight, you're always selling. If you're trying to get a job, you're selling. If you're trying to get a discount on something, you're selling. You don't have to be selling some tangible thing or some service. You're always selling. There's always some sort of influence going on in all of our daily lives. Even if it's like, somebody's at a stoplight and you want them to go, right? You're selling them on the idea of going. You go, right? We're influencing wherever we go. And so in the world of business, though, we're obviously selling in sales when we're presenting offers. We're selling when it comes to how we position our messaging, because there's going to be some aspect of value traded, right? So it's like how you position and think about your messaging is essentially influence. It's selling. Your landing pages, you want people to click on a link and register on your landing pages. Your emails, you want people to click the link in the emails or to even read the emails with the subject line. So we're always selling. Ads and social media, it's the same thing. You're trying to get somebody to click. So online, especially, we're always selling. And so this is the work. This is the work. And so I love this here. I love this chart, if you will. So this is the heart-centered evolution. There's this path that all of us are on, where we start and where we're going. And I would love for you to take a moment to like identify where you fall on here. But before we get into that, I'm going to map this out a little bit and just show from left to right. The left side is the disempowered side. We've all been there. The right side is feeling more empowered. From bottom to top, bottom is working from knowledge, right? Of book smarts, information. We're consuming knowledge. A lot of people say knowledge is key. No, actually it's not. We could store knowledge and not do anything with it. It's the applied knowledge is key. So there's also this aspect from knowledge to the top is knowing. And I feel like this is part of my life's work, is to help others to work from this place of knowing. And when I was scaling and doubling my revenue year after year, I was working from knowing. I was working from seeing my future as I wanted it to be, not as I thought it might be. I was working from this place of knowing, not just this blind, just like, rose-colored glasses type of deal, but this instinctual knowing. And it allowed me to take action in a way that put me on this path to achieve what I was going for, if you will. And even if I didn't achieve what I was going for, I was still on such a path. This knowing, working from knowing. So we can work from this analytical place, or we can work from this experience of trusting ourselves and our intuition and higher energy working through us, being guided, if you will. And then in the middle comes the mind and the personal power. So yes, we want to be able to utilize our mind and to lock our minds in with certain beliefs that empower us. And also at the same time, when we have personal power, it's like we're exuding strength and energy out of us when we're aligned and alive. And so the very first spot on the board here, and we've also got commitment. How committed are you to this work in your path? Identity, how you see yourself. When you shift and go left to right to that, the more that goes, the more things work. And also source energy as well. The more you work from source and the more connected you are to source energy, the more you work from knowing, and the more you intersect those 2 points, the higher up on this evolution you'll go. So the very first one is the passive student. We've all been there, where we're just learning, we're surveying, we're observing, right? And we're thinking about going, I'm going to put an offer out. No, I'm going to learn something again first. Oh, I'm going to put an offer out. No, I need to learn this first. This passive student. We're just sitting back on our heels. Also, there's the dabbler, the person that does put some offers out. This was me early on. I might put an offer out and you might not see nothing from me for the rest of the year. It might take me 6, 8, 10, 12 months for me to put something else out. I was kind of half in, half out. I would land a one-to-one client and I would stop marketing until like a week or two before that one-to-one client runs out. Then I start marketing again, and then I land, and then I market again. And I was in and out, dabbling. I wasn't committed. Then I got to this place in time, and see where you are in this as well. And if you want to share on the comments where you were at, that would be awesome too. So at one point in time, I was a passive/massive action taker. I was doing all the things. I was throwing it all at the wall, like I said earlier. I was doing it all, hustling my brains out, working long hours, trying to squeeze more out of the day. But what I wasn't really doing was being intentional. I didn't know what was working, because I'd see some results here and there, but I didn't know what was working. So I'm just throwing it at the wall. And so all that massive action I was taking was actually very passive, because I wasn't being intentional and I wasn't really showing up in a way that meant I stood for my offers and my value and the people that I'm here to help. Then there's the effective entrepreneur. Sounds kind of nice, right? Just sitting back, pushing some buttons, got the team doing some stuff. Sounds pretty nice. But this is actually a dangerous place to be. This place is where dreams go to die. When we start to check out a little bit, when we lose our heart, when we lose our vision and why we started doing this, we got some money rolling in, doing okay, and we just check out. But what we don't have is our heart on the line anymore. We're giving it all away, and we're just doing okay, right? So it's a very dangerous place to be. Then when we can go off the charts, to show up in a way that allows people to see that best version of yourself, to no longer play this game of dabbling. And yes, I'm always going to be a student, but I'm going to do more producing than consuming. And when I can show up with my heart, care deeply for people, be consistent, committed to making sure that the work that I was given to learn myself, because I had to learn all of what I share. This is my life's work, at least for right now. If I'm going to just take all the lessons and just throw them away and not share with others, because I know that this work helps people and it can change lives, if I'm not standing for that, then I'm still on the board. But if I'm standing for the work that I'm here to do, the agreements that I made when I came here on this earth, the people that I'm here to help that want to hear from me specifically, and each and every one of you have people out there that need to hear from you specifically. There was a moment in time where my parents were trying to tell me to do something. You need to do this, you need to do this. I'm like, no, I don't. And my best friend at the time told me the exact same thing later on. He said, hey, look, buddy, you need to do this. Yeah, you're right. I needed to hear it from him. I didn't need to hear it from my parents. They were not connecting and coming at me with the way that worked for me. But it did work with my friend, if you will. So huge. Let's get off the board. Let's play a bigger game. And I'll show you just in a breakdown of why this is so impactful and how this can move the needle for you. And so this is the heart center elevation. The last one was the evolution, the path you were on. Now it's like, how does this grow? How does this help us in business and in life, if you will? And so if we're off the very start, yet again, the passive student, spending a lot of money, spending a lot of time, probably, has a day job, so that's consuming a lot of time, and then you're studying and learning all this stuff, which yet again, I'm a lifetime student. But if I'm not producing, if I'm not putting offers out, if I'm not caring about people and working with people, what am I learning for? What am I prepping for, if you will? So then you have the dabbler. This person has a lot of time, and I did back then. I had time on my hands. It's kind of funny that before I had kids, I was just like always felt like I was out of time. And then when I had kids, it's just like, man, you wasted a lot of time. And then I had another kid, and it's just like, wow, you wasted a ton of time, because they consume the time a little bit in a good way. So, you throwing stuff out, so you might start seeing results when it comes to money and revenue, and you have a ton of time, but you're just sitting on your heels a little bit. Then you got the passive action taker. Their time is scattered all over the place. Sometimes they feel like they're in a flow. Other times they just like don't have the time. They've thrown enough at the wall that they're getting some results. And you have the effective entrepreneur. Their time is leveraged. They're outsourcing, they're delegating. They got some revenue coming in. They're doing all right. But they're in that dangerous place of kind of like checking out a bit. Then you've got the heart center leader. And your time is influenced. Like I said about Einstein's theory of relativity earlier, it's like you have the ability to see time in a certain way. And when your heart's on fire, time is more like suspended. It kind of stalls out. Time is irrelevant, if you will. You're not so caught up in like needing to do things in a certain way. You're needing to get things done in a certain amount of time because you're doing your work. You're helping people. And so that doesn't matter because you're so focused on being of service and helping people and also keeping yourself in a powerful place that time becomes irrelevant because it's influence. Like I said earlier, checking in with yourself, like look at the 80-20 rule here. Are you consuming more than producing? And if that's the case, there was one point in time where I was doing 80% consuming, studying, learning, consuming social media, and only 20% producing. And I think I'm being generous there. And I'm like, look, business isn't growing. I'm getting all this knowledge, but I'm not applying it. Let's flip this. And I started giving myself an allowance. Okay, here's the time that you can study, but the rest of the time we're producing. So I was producing 80% of the time and putting offers out, connecting with people, just building relationships. And then only 20% of the time I was consuming. So we want to make sure that we can see where we are on that scale too. Okay, so here's where we start to have more of a conversation around the baggage we have around sales. If I was to ask you and say, selling is, what comes to mind? Maybe you said selling a service. And if something came to mind, chat it in the comments here. If something came to mind, maybe it was service, right? Yep, service. We've heard that time and time again, but what does that even mean? Right? Like I'm serving somebody, and I've had somebody say that to me before. It was just like he was like he told all of his sales calls he was having. He was like, I'm happy to serve you today, like at the end. And it's just like it kind of just I think it kind of like weirded some people out. I think he said service you. But anyways, like what is service? What does that even mean? Selling is service. It's like, oh, it's a we're helping people. Like it's vague. It's not real powerful. But people's like seem to think that if they hear that, then their life is going to change when it comes to selling, right? But selling is energy. There's an energy, there's an essence behind selling. Selling is communication. And selling is also receiving. When you are in sales conversations or presenting offers, if you are just pushing, you are pushing people away. You've got to be able to offer and receive. And a lot of us huge-hearted peoples, we have trouble receiving. We want to give, but then when it comes time to reciprocate on the energy, the ancient law of Aini, reciprocity, we're just kind of like block it out, if you will. Because chances are there's some baggage about receiving. I remember as a kid, like, my family, somebody would bring beer or food to like a Friday night gathering, and a family member would be like, oh, thank you for doing that. Here's some money. And they're like, no. I bought this. It's good. No. Just take a little bit. It's just, it's like, I'll split it with you or whatever. Like, no, I bought this. It's good. And it would become this huge freaking thing. And I'm sitting there as a kid, like watching. I'm like, you just don't receive money. You just stand and you do not receive money. Like whatever you do not say, okay, and you take that. Because that's like something bad's going to happen. Like the world ends or something. I don't know why they won't just take the money, but you just don't. So I had to reprogram and reprogram how I receive receiving. And so if you have trouble with receiving as well, just tune into it. There's a yin and a yang, right? In sales, so much they teach masculine energy, pushing, charging. But we've also got to be open, receptive, more feminine energy, right? And so there's this yin and this yang, this balance of power. And so be considerate that as well. When you are presenting offers or doing sales calls, are you talking a lot? Are you pushing? Are you trying to convince that person to say yes? Yet again, on Tuesday, we're going to have training number 2, where we're going to talk about how to utilize language that's going to almost guarantee that you are going to be more receptive to receiving. Because you've got to give people an opportunity to come your way to see where they are in sales and in life. We can't just continue to talk at people and force them to do the thing we want to do. Is that making sense? Are you guys getting this? Is this good? It's good stuff. And sales at the end of the day is all about getting people to say yes to themselves. Yet again, that's that compassion, that caring for others. Getting them to say yes to themselves. If they don't say yes to themselves, they're not saying yes to you. You want them to say yes to themselves first and to accept that. And then they'll say yes to you. So that's the focus. That's intention. What's inside their minds or their bodies when it comes to fear or thoughts or beliefs is holding them back from saying yes to themselves. And yet again, on Tuesday, we're going to geek out on that for sure. So I'm going to break down this diagram here so you can get a better understanding of the three components. This is in your workbook too. The three components that you need to embody and to have in order to accomplish this place of heart-centered leaders or heart-centered selling, if you will. So the very first place is powerful presence. And this doesn't mean, showing up powerfully online, right? This is presence, being present. I'll break that down in a second. Then we have heartfelt persuasion. Saying things in a way that lands differently with somebody. No force feeding, but enrolling them into the conversation. Does that make sense? And then heart-aligned performance. Taking actions in a way that are aligned energetically with you and that you trust and know that works. And so with these three pieces of the puzzle, you will see with heart-aligned performance especially, you'll see more results. With powerful presence, you will build more trust. And with heartfelt persuasion, with using your words to help people understand, you know where they are and you know how to help them, you will build more authority. You will be seen as the person who has the answers. If you know the problem better than that person knows the problem themselves, they're going to see you in the same way of having the answers. You wouldn't know the problem without having the answers. You wouldn't be speaking about it. And so if you have two of these pieced together, but you're missing the third component, this whole thing falls apart. You could have powerful presence, you could have heartfelt language and persuasion, but if you don't have heart-centered performance, let me say it again. If you have powerful presence, if you have heartfelt language and persuasion, but if you don't have heart-aligned performance, you could be powerful with these language patterns, talking in the mirror to yourself all day, but if you're not getting in front of other people with the performance, with you're not connecting deeper online, we're not doing things in a certain way that's going to build your business, you could be powerful with these language patterns, these persuasion language patterns, talking to yourself all day, but if you don't have that third piece of heart-aligned performance, this all falls flat. You could have two more. You could have heart-aligned performance. You could have powerful presence. But if you don't have that heartfelt language and persuasion, if you're not able to say things in a way to bypass your people's mental filters to get them to stop, to listen, and to take note about what you're doing and what you're up to and how you can help them, you could have the ways to, show up online, to connect with people, and you could be powerful presence, but without those language patterns, you're probably going to be pushing and forcing and talking at people and rah, and, trying to, push people into taking action. And it's not aligned to you, that's going to cause burnout, and this all falls flat. So you could have heartfelt persuasion. You can have heart-aligned performance. But if you don't have powerful presence, if you're not in your heart, if you're not clear in your thinking, if you're not tuned and intentional, you could know how to approach people, where to approach people, how to have these conversations, how to build connections. You could say these fancy language patterns, but without the powerful presence, without being still in your mind and having an open heart, people are going to probably see you as meek or weak or timid or, just not their leader. And so without all three of these, this all falls flat. So we got to make sure that we're working on all three of these: the powerful presence, quieting your mind, opening your heart, the language, and then the heart-aligned performance, which that will be training number 3. Okay, cool. Let's break down this training that we are doing today about embodying a powerful presence. And I love frameworks, y'all. Love me some frameworks. So Powerful presence, right? So the very first piece would be identity, how you see yourself. If you see yourself as somebody who is inadequate, as shy, as an imposter, right? If you see somebody who is a perfectionist, things of that nature, chances are you're going to miss being able to set the tone to allow more energy to come in. But if you do see yourself, even from an identity standpoint, as an energetic being, as heart-centered, as somebody who cares deeply about somebody else, when you start to own this for yourself, you start to shift who you are and how you are when you are present. Also, there's this element of personal power. Yet again, working with the essence, the energy that's always around, always available, that's always with you. And what happens is we get in our minds and we leak energy and we drip energy all day long, thinking and giving our power away to other people. But when you can start to still your mind and open your heart, your personal power grows. And there's exercises that I teach inside Heart-Centered Selling Mastery that allows you to actually build more personal power inside your body. And I wish right here and right now I would have shown you a video. My very first video that I published online in 2014. I was a different duck. I was a different guy. I had said in that video, I said I was getting into perfectionism. I said I had recorded that video 20 different times. And I said, on this video, I'm finally just going to go for it and I'm going to publish it. And I did, but I was so tight. I was so scared. I just had so much fear in my body and in my mind. You know, I just crawled out of a depression that same year, a big funk, scary place, dark place, a place that allowed me back then to find myself through that darkness and to have so much compassion to other people that are going through similar experiences. That experience back in 2014 cracked my heart open. It's like every morning I'd wake up and I'm just like, how do I make this work? Like, why is this not working? Like, what is it about me? Why can't I break through? That was my primary question that I would ask day in and day out. Talk about a disempowering question. Why can't I break through? That was the context, the lens in which I was living. And then I started shifting that question. How do I help one person today? How can I just help one person today? And I shifted it again. How can I show up in a way that allows me to help even more people today? Who do I need to be in order to show up in a way that helps people to change their lives and to change their lives now? And so there was this shift in my identity and also this ability to gain personal power. And I would say things to myself and I would look at myself in the mirror in a certain way. And when I did meditations, I would feel so much power and so much love. I had to train myself to get out of this place of, you know, so tight, so afraid of the type of person that does a video 20 times before publishing it. And now it's like, you'd be hard pressed if I, you know, just don't publish whatever I publish. Like there's been so much letting go, so much openness that's happened by practicing the work that we're talking about here today and that I teach in Heart-Centered Selling Mastery. Also, purpose and intent. You know, a lot of people, let me get into this a little bit. I'll skip to that. I'll get into intent in a minute because it's a big conversation. So presence, that is tapping into, energetically wise, the absolute best version of you. A lot of times we can see it in our minds. I know who I can be, and we're striving towards that version. We're reaching for it, trying to achieve that. We'll get there one day. But you don't realize that you can embody that way right now. You can take the characteristics of that future version of yourself and you can feel that way and program that from a cellular level, not just subconscious wise, but from a cellular level in your DNA, even program it in your being by feeling the way you want to feel right here and right now. And then knowing, having the awareness to shift out of that place when you fall off track. Also, yeah, how do you see yourself in your mind's eye? Like, Yes, we have that version of ourselves that we're striving for, but how do you actually see yourself? Like, are you pissed off at yourself? Are you frustrated at yourself? Do you doubt yourself? What's the context for your life? Do you see yourself as somebody that doesn't follow through, that lacks integrity? What's that context? That context is going to bring about what you see in your life. Yeah, and reprogram your subconscious. It's like saying things in a way, and even, there was a point in time where I was a hypnosis junkie. I, probably had like 100 different hypnosis audios that I was listening to at different times, and it's powerful work. But so many people get stuck there. They think that just reprogramming their subconscious, that means they're going to naturally show up differently in life. But no, we still have to bring energy to this moment. We still have to have ourselves in a state, in a way that allows us to get out of our own way to match up to that work we did with our subconscious reprogramming. And also neuro empowerment method, something I teach inside a Heart Center Selling Mastery as well. And that's literally embodying and understanding how you can access the best part of you where you are right here and right now today. So I do certain things at times. I'll like snap my fingers, I'll tap my chest. I remember when I was doing sales early on, I would be stopping in on a potential client, and I'm just like in my stuff, and I'm just like so beat up. But I had these things that I would say to myself, and I would have these movements, this motion that I would do to get myself in a state, to get myself back in that best version of myself. And yet again, we kind of like hope that it just works out that way. We can just hope that the best version of myself is going to show up today. But there's no intentionality behind it. We want to take that bull by the horns and be that way now. And you can do that, but it takes practice and it takes effort. And it takes having the tools to do that. And that's what I speak to in the neuro empowerment method. Same thing, get in a state and stay in that state. Letting that be your new way of being. And the same, accessing or anchoring those feelings in your body. Presence. I thought this was a great concept when I first heard this. Early on, it was like, what's your purpose? What's your purpose? What's your purpose? I'm like, I would get clear on it, but it was just like, wasn't real clear. And, I would kind of like work on it and all that stuff. And it just seemed very elusive. But I heard one person say, he said, don't work to your purpose, work from your purpose. And so for me, that meant to be on purpose and intentional right here and right now today. So it's not necessarily about the vision or the purpose or why I came here, what my dharma is. I mean, that would be nice if we could just have like a playbook. Okay, here's your dharma. This is exactly what you're here to do. Just follow this. It's not often that clear. But for me to know that I was being intentional and on purpose in the moment, owning the moment, that allowed me to influence and to be more in control or influence my greater purpose. Because how are you supposed to get to your purpose if you're not on purpose? So instead of thinking we need to have it all clear, but yes, do the vision exercises, get more clear, play out in the future, see what you want to see, but also be on purpose and be intentional right here and right now today. And also, what chases you when we're not present will run from you. So if we are chasing dollars or chasing time or chasing relationships, I need this, I need this, I need this, we're essentially pushing it away. But when we can work from that place of personal power, of presence, of purpose and intent, to be intentional, that which you once chased will appear. It's almost like you've got two magnets, right? You got a magnet here, magnet here. This is you. This is what you want. There's only one of two ways that this comes together, right? We either get closer, so you've got to be able to take action to draw the magnets together, or this magnet gets stronger, and attracts this magnet. So for me, I'm like, why don't we do both? Why don't we be the type of magnet that gets stronger and stronger and stronger and also moves towards that which we want? Yet again, so many people are in fear. And it wrecks their lives, it wrecks their health, it wrecks their mental health. And when we can care about life from this point, I get ahead of myself a little bit too, of this razor's edge, right? Of caring so deeply about life and about others, but at the very same time, not giving a damn. Because if we care too much from this aspect of need or having to have it a certain way or giving all of our power away to that, then we're essentially, fooling ourselves. But also, I'm not going to sit here and say don't care, because then you're not going to go after that. So we have to have this razor's edge. You could slip off this way or slip off this way. It's such a fine line between caring deeply about this world and the people that you're here to help and the work you're here to do, at the same time, not giving a damn. Because that way we're not attached. That way our ego's not in it. It's a beautiful place to work from. Where is your attention? At any point in time during the day, are you aware of where your attention is? Are your attention on failing or of, the things that you don't want in your life? Also, being intentional about how you want others to feel. If you want others to feel excited, you want others to feel love, you want others to feel joy, but you're not bringing that to the day, there's a disconnect. You can't get there from here. So how do you want others to feel and working from there? There we go. Yeah. I was behind one. So what becomes possible when working from intent and circumstances versus circumstances? Circumstances, not enough time, not enough energy, not enough money, not enough resources, not enough people, not enough help, right? It perpetuates itself. It becomes this whole life of its own. Versus taking your energy and casting it out and saying, this is mine, it's done. It is done. It's complete. And so a lot of people, when they talk about this logical level, this is some very smart gentlemen who had created NLP, came up with this logical level to basically show how to get to a place of transformation. You've got source energy, you got identity, you got beliefs and stories, skills and capabilities, behaviors, and then your environment. And so what happens a lot of time when people teach this is they skip that foundational level. They go to identity. How do you see yourself? How do you want to reprogram your subconscious? Who do you want to be to take actions in a way to get the results you're after? But what they don't realize is this source and essence. If we're not tapped into this, if we're not aware of the energy that's moving through us, then we're very limited. It's still working from this analytical place of needing to get your mind or your mindset right. And so when you really think about your life and what's possible for you, it's possible because you have life moving through you. You have energy. You have vibration. You have frequency that's moving through you, which is vibration. And so if we're only working from this place of like identity, how do I see myself? Or my beliefs and my stories, right? What are the stories about business? What are the stories about me? What are the stories about life? Einstein said at one point, he said, there's a very important question that everybody asks themselves that will determine so much. Is this world a good place or a bad place? Such a powerful question he phrases, because we all have a lens in which we see the world. And if we see the world from this bad place, bad people, bad government, bad healthcare, bad this, bad that, but we try to show up in all that bad and be part of the good. I mean, don't be blind to it, right? Like understand it and aware it. But if you're going to have the context of this world and this life is like bad versus good, that's a label. And labels can be very empowering or limiting. And so instead of working from this place of bad, or the world is bad, focus more on the energy that you bring. Focus more on seeing the good, because it's only going to fuel you. It's only going to give you more personal power. Because if you get in the doomsday scroll in social media and you're seeing all the bad, are you feeling empowered or disempowered? Are you able to shift and shape the world to be a better place from that state? Chances are not as effectively if you did when you're in this place of seeing the good, caring about, the well-being of everybody and everything, but at the same time, not giving a damn, right? So we got skills and capabilities like improving on certain areas, mastering sales, mastering, messaging and offers, communication, leadership, right? And then the behavior. So it's like when you have skills, you're going to behave in a different way. Like I've picked up different skills. I was talking about 2014 doing that video. I've picked up skills through the years that allowed me to behave in a different way. Right? I no longer clam up so much when I'm doing videos and like my head's going to pop off and I have to carry all this weight because I don't want to feel what I'm feeling in life. Right? I need some padding, if you will. Like I'm blocking people out, blocking the energy out. I need to protect myself. I have new skills that I've developed about energy work and transformation work, business, that allowed me to behave in a certain way, which allowed me to put myself in a different environment. Because at one point in time, I was stuck. I wasn't able to do anything. Wasn't able to make decisions for myself. Wasn't able to say, hey, look, I'm going to go do this without having major consequences, if you will. So I was in this environment that was very limiting. But I didn't shift just from this identity standpoint. I didn't just adopt new beliefs and stories. I didn't just get new skills. I didn't just behave differently in order to have a new environment. I tapped back into that which is always present, always supportive, always working for me. And that is source energy. That's essence. And when you can feel it and tap into that, we no longer have to take ourselves so serious. We no longer get into self-importance in a way we once did that is so limiting. We can let go of how people might perceive us. We can let go of needing to have certain results in a certain way. And we can just be. And I promise you, when your people see you standing in your own power, exuding personal power, exuding that essence that's working through you, they're going to stop. They're going to listen. They're going to pay more attention. And chances are, if you're standing for your offers and standing for your value at one point in time, there's a good chance that they might buy or might inquire to work with you. But it's not going to be from just shifting our identity to be more confident or outgoing or courageous or whatever. There's this energy that's yours and yours alone, but that's also everyone's, that's working through you at all times. And we've got to be able to find a way to connect with others through this essence, this energy that you are essentially filtering, that's coming through you, and you are putting it out in the world in your own unique way. Powerful stuff. So I like this concept too. So if you see your life how it is, sometimes we grow and we're doing a little better, but then the law of average is going to pull us down and we're going to go underneath that line. And then we're going to come up and we're going to, oh, things are good. And then we're going to go down, oh, things are okay. Things might be bad. So we're constantly staying steady with this line in how we see ourselves and what we know to be true in our lives. But when we can rise to a new level, to see ourselves differently, to show up differently, to feel differently, to have a different experience in life, instead of trying to have this bottom line where you're trying to get up higher, but you're pulled down, let's set a new threshold, this new 0 point that's a little bit higher, this new standard for ourselves, not from a standpoint of needing to be a certain way, but of who you know yourself to be, this energetic, expansive being, this pure, positive potentiality. When you can see yourself like that, you break the chains for who you thought you were being and who you thought or what you thought was possible. So we're raising the game when we can let go and start to see yourself, see myself as who and what we really are. And that is powerful, pure, positive potential. And even if you just think about that for a second and let go of any resistance around that idea, I can almost guarantee you feel a little lighter. Your vibe's a little higher. And just imagine if you can program and be that type of way more times than not. What becomes possible when working from pure, positive potential. Because that's what we are. So we've talked about this a lot. I won't get into this too much. So we're either working from one of two places. Fear. There's two main types of fear. One of the types of fear is, what does that say? Yeah. So if we were back in the caveman days or the tribe days where we didn't have, real tight-knit communities with a lot of different people, if you are inadequate, if you're not keeping up on your weight, if you are just, taking the resources from people and not helping and not providing, if you're inadequate, if you're not good enough, if push comes to shove, if we got to let go of somebody in the tribe, it's going to be the person that's the most inadequate. That's where that fear of inadequacy comes in. It's a deep-rooted fear. It's not just something that we're just like, I hope I'm good enough. It's like there's something deep there. And if you are deemed inadequate, if you're, the the Achilles heel of the group, if you're weighing everybody down, push comes to shove, we got to let you go. You're on your own. And back in those days, if you're on your own, chances are that's a death sentence. You're donezo. And the same is true for if the tribe doesn't like you, if you do something to make everybody mad, we're just like, we got to get rid of this person. It's not so much that you're inadequate. And think about this, like the two primal fears. It's not that you're inadequate in this case, but you did certain things where it's just like, we can't trust this person, right? They don't have the best interest in us. This person is like going against the status quo. They're done. We're abandoning that person. They're done. Yet again, they're on their own. They don't have people to help protect them when they're hunting or protect their, house or help them build houses or shelter, or a place to sleep and stay. They're on their own, which is a death sentence. So there became this, identity, even if you want to look at it that way, of these people in early tribes that they needed to fit in. They didn't want to stand too tall, the tall poppy syndrome, right? It's just like if you stand too tall, you're going to get pulled down. So it's like you had to be able to kind of stay with this group. And also you needed to be able to pull your weight in a way where people didn't say, no, we're done with this. And so those are the two primal fears that we're constantly battling and working from. And so it's just like, what context are you working from? Circumstances. What are your deeper underlying thoughts and beliefs that influence how you experience the world? Who are you being and the actions you take? When you work from a place of fear, doubt, and scarcity, you get scarce results. There's no way around it. Like I said, in 2016, I guess at the time, I was doing all the things. And I just wasn't seeing the results. It's because I was working from fear. Everything that I touched, everything that I did came from fear. And yes, maybe I was being courageous at the time, but it was still working from fear. It wasn't working from this place of caring about others. When I got to this place, this higher vibe, everything shifted. I was able to stay in motion. I was able to speak more clearly. I was able to have more fun. People saw me as me, not as who I was trying to be. And what happens is the biggest trigger word in the English dictionary that triggers both of those two primal fears, it's a big, long word. That's that word, no. Did that show up? Did that show up? There we go. When we're told no in sales conversations, it's triggering to us. It's almost like this knee-jerk reaction, like, uh-oh, right? They don't like me. They don't want me around. I'm inadequate. And so in sales and presenting offers and putting ourselves out as, personal brands, thought leaders, we face rejection all the time. And it's triggering and scarring for a lot of people. But that's only if we are putting our egos on the line. But instead, in order to get to that place of reaching your goals or your purpose, if you're working from fear, you're just not going to get there. But if you can work from love, from being intentional and your personal power, caring deeply about others, then wouldn't you think you'd be more likely to stay in motion, to be that magnet that's getting closer to that purpose and that's getting stronger to attract that to you, which you want? I think it's kind of obvious, right? And so at the essence of you, at the core of you, who are you really? Are you showing your true heart, your essence? Are you connecting to source and energy? Or are we just trying to figure it out in our minds and just do the doing? There's a whole concept of the be, do, have model. Be, do, have. Who do I need to be to take actions in a way to get the results I'm after? When we skip the being, which the being is this energetic person that's connected to source energy. When you skip the being, then you just go straight to the do. Do. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. And when you skip the being and get to the do, you get stuck in the do. And so take that into consideration. Bring that energy to your day and to your life that in your heart is aligned with that bigger vision of yourself. Allow that to come through you. Okay. At the heart, most of us, if we're not, bad people, we just want to help others. We want to serve. We want to grow. We have this idea in mind that we continue to work together, we're going to elevate. And it's almost like, in my understanding and my awareness, is we came here to evolve. But if we're staying stuck to ourselves in our own way, then I'm not evolving. You're not evolving. If I'm not putting myself out, if I'm not sharing what's on my heart, then the people that need to hear this and to have a shift and have a transformation, they stay stuck. If they stay stuck, other people stay stuck. We're all in this together. And we said this earlier too. So selling is service. Sometimes people say sleazy, scary, right? But for me, selling is freedom. It allows you to be who you are, to lead in a way that is aligned with you. Selling also, when you can present offers and understand how people think, how to navigate certain objections, how to lead people in a way that they want to follow. There's so much freedom in that. Freedom in expression, but freedom with opportunities and resources that come in from being able to sell. So yet again, we can do all the things. We can work on our messaging. We can work on our offers, right? Those two come together. They must come together and intersect in the middle with sales. Because I could have an offer and I could have a message, but if I'm not presenting my offer in a way that lands with people, that compels them to want to take action and to click the button to enroll or to take the action to purchase, then I could have that offer sitting out there in that message, but we've got to have this intersection point with sales. And if we don't master sales, we're missing a key piece to bringing this whole thing together in business. And if we avoid sales, and if we avoid putting offers out, if we avoid nailing our message, it's one and the same. I want to lean in from the very start and master sales, because if I understand and master sales, the way you present your offer and create your offer is going to be a lot more effective. And your messaging, when you understand sales and persuasion, heartfelt language, persuasion, your message is going to be much more effective as well. So selling is freedom. It opens up so many doors. And there's going to be this point in time too I might have clicked too many times. We'll see. Where each and every time you work from this place of needing to be comfortable, you stay stuck. There is going to be this element of leaning into fear and being courageous. Sometimes we just have to navigate through that. But if we always work from this place of being afraid of something or fearing something and working from there, that's limiting. But if we can start to reframe it and see it differently as like, I'm learning something. I have from this experience that I was afraid of that I may or may not got the results I was after, I learned something. So I'm in this learning mode. I'm out of fear, if you will. And sometimes we dip back a bit. But also, we can go to this place of growth. When you're here with this mentality, this mantra of constant and never-ending improvement, then there's this opportunity to be able to take steps, to take strides, to see the experiences that you're experiencing as opportunities for growth. We no longer have to take it so personal when we have a failed launch or nobody bought the offer. We can learn something from it and we can grow from it. So if we're growing from it, that's a much higher state. There's much more to be offered, much more opportunities and possibilities from this growth state. Okay. So a couple key principles when it comes to selling, when it comes to embodying a powerful presence, especially if you're doing one-to-one calls or personal selling, like I did back in the day. Like I said, I had to do phone calls, had to drop into businesses to sell. There was a lot of opportunities to pick up a lot of baggage. And like I said, when I first had that phone call, when I just like fell apart, and I was stuttering and I was stammering, I had an important decision to make. What meaning was I going to place on that experience? And I could have easily said, that's not for me. This isn't for me. I'll never be cut out for this. But I chose a meaning that would empower me. I chose a meaning that I could laugh at in that moment. So nothing has any meaning except for the meaning you give it. There are experiences, and then there's meaning that you attach to the experiences. Two people could have the exact same experience and have two different perceptions of what that meant for them. And so be hyper considerate. And there's times too where something will happen and my mind will want to put meaning on it. And one of the exercises I do is I Control Alt Delete it. I will take a moment to say, that's not going to help me. Control Alt Delete. And then I will fill in what I want that to mean. And I will attach that experience to a meaning that's going to empower me. That's not going to disempower me. So huge. Anytime we're presenting offers, doing certain things, nobody likes me, this offer sucks. I see so many entrepreneurs pivot and pivot and pivot because they have bad meaning on an event that took place. It's like you put an offer out, nobody bought. I had a failed launch. Okay, how many people saw? Like 4 people, right? Well, maybe out of 100, you could probably have 4 sales if you get 100 people. Let's look at that a little bit more. But the meaning was like, this failed, this doesn't work, people don't want this. How do you know that? How do we know for sure? Like if it's a sense, yeah, I'm not going to mess with that. If you know, so knowing, yeah. Most people kind of like mess that up a little bit. They try to protect themselves and call it a knowing. So nothing has any meaning except for the meaning you give it. Choose empowering meaning for yourself. There's a fun story. Tony Robbins shares a story where he was working with 2 performing artists, like singers, at the exact same time. And one of them came and said, Tony, when I'm going out on stage, man, my hands are sweaty, my knees weak, arms are heavy. He said, I get kind of like butterflies in the stomach, my face gets hot, my shoulders get tense, my hands get sweaty. And in that moment, I know I'm freaking out. The other person that's working with Tony at the same time said, Tony, my hands get sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy, vomit on my sweater already, mom spaghetti.
But it's like my face is flushed. I get butterflies in my stomach. My hands are sweaty. And in that moment, I know I'm ready. Two similar experiences, two separate meanings. So when we get nervous sometimes, who's to say that nervousness isn't excitement? Like when I was preparing for this, I was like excited because I've trained myself to not be nervous for things like this. Like if you were to say, hey, look, Adam, I got a room full of 10,000 people. Let's go rock this stage right here and right now. I am never in my mind going to tell myself that I'm nervous because it doesn't do nothing for me. I mean, sometimes people, they like to accept things like that, to set with it, and then they can navigate it. But for me, it's a label that does not serve me. I would much rather be like, man, my body's like excited right now. Like this is crazy. I'm kind of jazzed and all this stuff. So watch the meaning, right? And also when we face rejection, and for me, for somebody to be able to say no to me, gosh, that used to hurt. But I see it now as I want to be able to say no to somebody, right? It's such a gift. It's such an empowering statement, right? I do see it as like the people that I'm communicating with, I see in my mind what's possible for them when they say yes. So sometimes it's like, oh, they're just not getting it, but I'm working from this place of knowing that it's a yes already. And that's important too. It's just like work from the outcome, work from that knowing. All you got to do is match them up to that. But it's like when rejection happens, when somebody says no, when it hurts us, we have what happened. They said no, or they responded in a certain way. When I first started doing sales calls for James Wedmore, the very first time he had a team of people doing sales calls for him, my very first call before the cart opened, this lady was not real nice. She was like, what's in the program? I need to know all the things. And I'm like, well, they're going to open the doors on Monday. And you can like look at the sales page and all that, all the nuances in. I can't sit here and just, just like go through everything in the program. And she was just like, well, you sound like you don't know what's in there. Like, no, I'm a student. I like know what's in there. And she was just like, I don't know if I want to buy a program from somebody that doesn't even know what's in the program. I'm just like, and that was another one of those moments where it just like doesn't get much worse than that with my very first call for James. But it was like, there's what happened. And then there's the meaning that I attached. But sometimes we put those together. But in any given point in time, you can separate those. They're two separate occasions. There's what happened. There's what you saw, what you heard. This lady was making some noises. And then at one point, it was like on that call, I'm like, oh, I'm a failure. Like, oh, man, like I'm not going to be able to do a good job for James and all this stuff. And I Control-Alt-Delete that. Doesn't get much worse than that. It should be fun from here. Right? So you can separate any instance in your life. And there's so much power in that. Talk about gaining power. There's so much power when you can separate what happened and the meaning. Okay, principle 2 here. Your attention is your reality. Leave your baggage at the door. If I'm coming to a sales call or presenting an offer, I'm in my head, nobody bought before. If that's where my attention is, or somebody said no before, this lady was not real nice to me before, if that's where my attention is, that's my reality. That's it. There's no other way to say it. Where my attention is my reality. I could be sitting here thinking in my mind like I'm having a bad experience, then that's my reality. It's real. But if I'm like, I'm loving this is so much fun, which I am, by the way, and I trust that you're enjoying this too and getting some great value out of this. But wherever my attention is, what I'm focused on, that's what I'm living. That's my experience of life. And there's the whole law of attraction. This is where I really geek out on the law of attraction. I mean, it's a big conversation, but I do know for sure if I have a certain thought of a certain frequency, that thought is going to attract similar thoughts all the time. So if I go off in my mind and I start thinking about something in a certain way, thoughts are going to start spiraling that connect with that, or they're aligned with that, that are attracted to that. And you can go down a rabbit hole very quick and be disempowered very quick and get yourself in a stuck state very quick. but also when you can catch yourself and shift out of there and shift your attention away from that which does no longer serve you and into a place of, this lights me up, this is exciting, I can get behind this, this is fun. When your attention is there, that's your reality. So pay attention to where the attention is and choose wisely of where you're placing your attention. Leave the baggage at the door. I forgot to click again. Let me get back on track here. Okay, cool. I love this one. I had to throw this one in here. When you're in sales, presenting offers, I've seen this with students before. Sometimes things happen where it's just like, there's this, oh crap moment. I had a student, a number of years ago who presented his first offer on a training. And the only reason I could notice this is because this was my experience when I first started presenting offers. He was like rocking it, giving value, teaching and training and having a good old time. Then he shifts to present the offer. Now, how many of you have shifted to present offer and the energy just changes? It gets serious and deep fast. And I saw this oh crap moment going on with him. And he started kind of just like getting nervous. and through our teaching, through our training, and I even work with people on this, when you shift the energy, when you're able to navigate energy and influence energy, you can get it back very quickly. So I saw that he shifted energy and started getting into this sales frame of mind, this, oh no, now that I'm facing this rejection, and he got himself right back very quickly to this place of real heart alignment. And he went on to present a great offer, and I think he had like 20% conversion. He crushed it, but he had this moment where it about all fall apart. But in sales and in life, you got to be like water. Bruce Lee, you got to be able to roll with things. Sometimes we get so stubborn in our ways that we're just not able to move forward effectively, if you will. So you got to be like water, be more fluid. Principle number 4, know it is done. Work from this place of knowing. It's a powerful place of knowing. It's the most powerful place you can work from. And that was it. When I was seeing that doubling of revenue for a number of years in my business, I was working from knowing. My future was what I said it was going to be. And I would know instinctually and intuitively and sense-wise from my body, I would know that it's already done. In these sales calls I was on, the answer is already yes. It wasn't from a place of ego. It wasn't from a place of being rigid, because I was being like water. But I could see it in my mind. I was working from this place of knowing it's already done. Powerful place. And there's this feeling, this certain vibe that just matches up when you're there. Okay, there's this saying in the marketplace. It says, always be closing. ABC, right? ABC, always be closing, always be closing. Instead of closing, nobody likes to be closed. People don't want to feel like they're closed, right? Like forced and pushed and prodded and put in a box and shipped away. We're closed, closing you. Instead of closing, always be leading. And this is where your personal power really takes center stage. If somebody throws out an objection to your offer, are you just going to be like, oh, okay, that's okay. Yeah, that's fine, right? Or are you going to lead them? Are you going to ask one more question? Are you going to connect a little bit deeper? Are you going to be a little bit more inquisitive? This is where leading and your personal power comes to play. Because most people will shy away here, and then they'll kind of be mad at themselves because they didn't get the deal. What you're really mad at is you didn't stand for your value. And this isn't about being pushy yet again. But sometimes I will err on the side of asking one more question because we think there's this line we're going to cross. This proverbial line in the sand that if we cross it, they're going to be so mad. They're going to, call us names and all that stuff. You couldn't cross that line if you wanted to as a heart-centered leader. So instead of being so worried about what they think, just continue to lead. If it gets to a point where they're just shutting down, they're going to see something about themselves in that moment that still was beneficial and impactful. So always be leading. And always speak to the higher self in others. When you can mirror and pace using voice inflection, just connecting that way energetically, when you can stay in rapport and agreement, not fight against them and be like, but yeah, have you considered this? The word in sales, but we don't want to say but. Say, okay, I get where you're at, and have you considered this? Right? Always want to stay in agreement and rapport. Managing your energy, don't get disheartened, don't get unnerved, don't get fried if things go off the rails a little bit. For me, it's like that gets fun and exciting. Like, all right, this guy's got some good objections here. This guy's got me on my feet being like water, you know? Stop leaking the energy. When you're on these sales calls or presenting offers or doing your trainings, are you just thinking and leaking energy the whole time? The stillness of mind and body, being more still, more centered. So that way you're not leaking personal power as well. And also there's this lost art of listening, something that I also speak to in Heart-Centered Selling Mastery. To be able to, even while you're presenting, to listen, to be open, to receive, and especially on sales conversations as well. It's like there's certain questions that they're asking, certain things that they're doing that is a scapegoat or a smokescreen for what's really going on. So are you able to see the unseen? Are you able to be present enough to truly listen to this person? Or are you in your head trying to remember that next thing you're going to say? When you can listen better than anybody else, you understand people deeper and you're able to help them move. You're able to lead them in a way that allows them to take that empowered action, to take it and make an empowered decision for themselves. It's huge. So yet again, I said this earlier, the most powerful place to work from, the razor's edge. Caring deeply for everything, but at the exact same time, not giving a damn about anything. There's so much power there if you think about it. But most of the time, we're either caring deeply about people and then we're hurt when they don't take the actions that we feel would benefit them, or our egos are hurt when they say no to us, to me, or it's just like we don't care. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they do. But when these two worlds meet and merge and collide, and when you can work from there, this 0 point, there's power, so much power there. So work from that razor's edge. It's non-attachment as well. Attachment is the source of all suffering. My man Buddha said that. I like to call Buddha my man. It's my man. But are you attached? There's a difference between knowing and attachment. You can know that the outcome is done, or you can be attached to needing that outcome in a certain way. And that need and scarcity and fear, people smell it, they sense it, they see it written all over you. But if we're working from this knowing, it's like we're just leading them the entire time. That magnet. But if we're attached, we get into combativeness, we get into force and pushing. So let's lead. Knowing, trusting yourself. I think this should say knowing equals trusting yourself, trusting the universe, and trusting the process. Because there is a process. There's a process to life. There's a process to sales and leadership. And working from knowing, you are trusting yourself. And you are trusting the universe, as the universe is a good place. It's got your back. And you're trusting the process that was laid out in front of you before you even came to this planet. This higher guidance, if you will, that's working through you at all times. Versus working from that place of scarcity. Not enough time, energy, money. Chasing, needing, lack. You're never in your power. You're never being. So no more chasing, because that will run from you. And Heart Math Institute's done a tremendous amount of research about heart coherence. The vibration, the energy that comes off when you actually will share your heart, versus the connection of what happens when you try to connect through the mind. And also they did research too on what happens when your mind and your heart work together. That's where flow states happen. That's where new creative ideas, that's when we get outside this box of what's possible and we take actions in a way to really shape and to provide quantum results that are just outside the scope of doing a little bit different, a little bit new, or more of the same. So when our heart and our minds are connected, that's when we're really channeling higher guidance. That's when energy is working with us. That's when we are supported. And that's when growth can take place from a more quantum level, if you will. So yes, no more spiraling down the staircases with those attracted thoughts to the negative thoughts. I have a powerful exercise I'd love for you guys to entertain, where anytime I have a negative thought, I did it numerous times today, or just a weird thought, I will simply say thank you. Now, I don't always do this perfectly because I get in my stuff too, and I get in my rabbit holes. I go down the stairs as well. But if you have a thought that you know is not going to serve you, the doom and gloom thought, or the this isn't going to work thought, or this or that, the other thing that's not empowered, it's not true. If it was true, you would feel it as truth. It would feel good. If it feels icky, or if it feels heavy or misaligned, simply think that thought. Thank you. Because in thinking it, you can stop it and you can come back to this present moment. Thank you. And then you're right here, right now. That thought was designed for a reminder for you to be present. So anytime you have a negative thought, thank you. And then come back to the present moment. Sense, feel, be here now. And also, there's a mantra that I live by as well. It's like, feel good now and keep feeling better. And that's not from a place of needing to, or I have to, or I should. It's from a place of knowing that is going to provide more of a richness of experience of life. When I can feel good in this moment and then have the intention to continue to expand my good feelings. Powerful stuff. And also at the same time too, it's like we could do all the energy work, right? We could be this pure positive potential being that I said earlier. But if we don't have a strategy, if we don't have an approach to business and sales, hopefully we could just do a video just shining our light online. We don't even have to say something. Just sitting there chilling, you know, light just shining. People are going to be just throwing money at you. Right? Like, I want to work with you. I don't know what you do, but here's some money. Be nice, right? I guess that's what they call like modeling. Maybe we get into the modeling business, maybe. I don't know. But if there is holes in your bucket, if you are approaching business in a certain way that just does not work with you, it's not aligned, energetically aligned, then there's a hole in the bucket. And so we've got to be able to see sales in a way and also approach sales in a way that can work for us. And yet again, the next two trainings, training number 2 and training number 3, we're going to get into that and more. But to kind of start to wrap and encapsulate this training a little bit, you know, the way I saw myself years ago when I was, like I said, you know, in a funk, in a depression, I put out my first video online. And I told myself, I was like, I'm going to start showing up more. I'm going to start doing it this time, start doing more videos. I said in this video, I'm going to do more videos. I did not publish another video for almost a year. And then I think the next year I maybe did 2 or 3 videos, right? And that's because I did not trust myself back then. I didn't like myself. I beat myself up a lot. I saw myself as somebody that didn't have what it takes, didn't have integrity, didn't follow through, wasn't worth it. So you cannot outperform a disempowered self-image. It takes seeing yourself differently, more from a spiritual or energetic conversation, and making the case for all the good things happening in your life to achieve different results. We don't got to do anything, right? I don't like when I say that. It would help you greatly when you can start to work from this place of energy, of knowing that there's something more here. And it's so wild to think at one point in time, we thought matter was matter, right? This is this physical stuff, this hardness, But matter is simply empty space. And in that empty space is energy. It's vibration. So if we don't tune into this energy that's all around us, that's constantly working through us, that's keeping us alive, and we only work from this place of 3D, of me, they're buying from me, I need to be liked, or the who am I to do this, or I'm the perfectionism, I procrastinate. So much self-importance about how I look and how I show up. And when we see ourselves from this limited perspective, we limit what's possible. But when we can blow the roof off how we see ourselves and who we know ourselves to be, so much more becomes possible. So much more becomes possible. And I'm sure you've seen iterations and variations of this where we're working from this place of like a low vibe state, right? So we have the guilt, the shame, the apathy, the grief, and then fear, right? And then fear's next in line. And then we're kind of like got this desire, like I wish things would be different. And then we constantly continue to move up this scale. And for me, it's like there's people that teach this to say we must navigate this in accordance to like that next step. But for me, it's so black and white. When I can start to work from this place of love, like caring for myself in this world, in this life, and the people I'm here to help, I can bypass a lot of this stuff. And yes, sometimes our bodies are ingrained to go back in fear and fight or flight. It's a practice, right? But I can continue to put myself in the state of love and of joy and of caring for people and feeling peaceful on the inside. I promise you, there was this point in time I was trying to fix my mind, fix my mindset. And I just couldn't get there. But when I started working from this bodily state of how I felt and reprogramming myself from there, then all of a sudden my thoughts slowed down a bit. But I couldn't get there from here. I had to get there from my body feeling and caring and feeling love and caring about people. And so you can get to a higher vibration, which is going to attract so much more to you when we can get out of this fear state and tune in and be honest with yourself. Be objective of how much time you spend in a fear state and how much time you do spend like literally feeling love and joy. Most people, it's like less than an hour a day. They might have like had a moment where they hugged or loved somebody and they felt love, and then the rest of the day they're in fear. And so be objective and see what's possible when you expand your horizons of how you feel and the energy you exude into the world. I'm telling you, this world needs so much of you. And if you're only given 20% of your all, not from a place of hard charging and getting it all done, but of your essence, of your energy that's moving through you and that is, unique to you, then this world continues to suffer. And your clients, they just don't see it. They don't wake up. They don't see that you're the leader and you're the person that's going to take them to where they need to be. So we've got all this time in life where we are pushed back. We're doing some things. Maybe you did feel love. Maybe you were working from a place of service and caring deeply for people. And then we get knocked back. And I had a mentor years ago where I told him, I said, look, I feel like every couple weeks, like I'm like on top of the world, like everything and anything's possible. And then a short time later, like I'm rock bottom. I'm like, just my thoughts are just crap. And like, I just don't see any possibility. How's this ever going to work? All this stuff. And then I muster up the courage. I start going again. And then boom, I get knocked back again. And he said, have you seen that movie Castaways? Tom Hanks? I said, yeah, I know that movie. He said, when Tom Hanks was trying to get off that island, right? He had that boat, that wave kept knocking him back. He said, do you know how he got off that island? Yes, I do. He buckled down and he rode over that wave. I said, absolutely. I said, do you know what you need to do? Absolutely. When that moment hits, when life is pushing me back, when circumstances are pushing me back with negative thoughts, negative programming, the baggage of the world and of my past are pushing me back, in that moment, I get real still and I focus on getting over that wave. making it to that vast ocean that's ahead of me. Because if I continue to be distracted and let that wave crash me again and again and again, I will never get over that wave. But when I can buckle down and care deeply and trust myself and just focus on getting over that wave, getting over that hump, doing that thing that was holding me back and scaring me for a while, just doing it with grace and ease and peace, then a vast ocean opens up in front of me. And the same for you. This is the work to be able to be more still, more present. I mean, our businesses don't just grow when we're doing our business thing. They grow when we are present in life. When you're connected with your kids or your significant other, or you're connected with your team. When you're fully present with them and not just out chasing and chasing the next thing, essentially pushing it away, but when you're present, looking in your kids' eyes or your significant other's eyes or your family member's eyes, or just being in nature, being present, that is when your business grows. That's when the confidence and the personal power comes. That's when the ideas are planted. So that way, when you do go down to work, sit down at your computer, writing, doing what you need to do, that's the ideas that were already there waiting for you, that you picked up when you were present. So there's so much more for you when you're present. So at this point in time, we talked a lot about energy. We're going to continue this conversation about energy, and you're still going to get so much more out of what I instilled in you and shared with you today through our time together. This is just something that's starting, right? But if we're only talking energy here, and we're not communicating with people in a way that lands with them, that they understand, that stops their world, that bypasses these mental filters that they're blocking out so much information because there's so much information online. When you can bypass those mental filters using language and even the way you speak more hypnotically, and how you phrase things a little bit different with intention. I'm going to show you some language patterns that really work to get people kind of just a little deer in a headlight look for just a minute, thinking and considering to stop them. We could, end this conversation with the energy part, but until we really start to master language, we could show up, take that picture, do that video with just us and our energy, but we still need to convey a message. We still have to convey a message in a way that stops these people, stops your ideal audience, your ideal customers, your dream clients, and allows them to have some sort of an experience that is designed for them to want to know more about you, or to inquire more, to reach out, or to even tell you that you had an impact in their lives. So that's what we're doing on training number 2, which is Tuesday at 2 p.m. on October 15th. So I want to thank you. If you made it all the way through this video, I acknowledge you. Being able to be more present in life and to no longer leak your personal power, but instead harness it and build it and utilize it to help the world around you and to help your people, to allow you to stand a little bit taller, speak a little bit more clear, and let your people know that you have their back and you care for them. That is so much of the work. And now it's time to nail the language part of this. So if you have somebody that you feel would benefit from this training, we're going to have these trainings up for essentially a week from today, or actually a little bit longer, 2 weeks from today. So send this to them. You can send them to adamkudu.com/HCL, Heart Center Leaders, HCL. Let's get some more people in this work. Let's get some more shifts in life. I mean, even sharing the link and having them have one insight in this training that we did here, that could change so much for them and the world around them. So let's change more lives. Why not? Let's have some fun. I'm feeling the love. I'm feeling the good vibes. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for spending your time with me. And I promise you, we're only getting going. We're only starting this. So much more goodness to come. And like I said, keep your notes, because we are going to do some sort of quiz or giveaway where you're going to have an opportunity to win a VIP day with me, work on the business, your offers, your messaging, how how you approach sales, your presentation, and $250 cash, $250 credit if you do decide to enroll in Heart Center Selling Mastery, and probably some other stuff, some books and some crystals and fun things like that. And we'll do some other giveaways for those who participate in that as well. So again, thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. I would recommend at this point, if you like this training, why not go ahead and start binge watching it again? Because there's going to be gold nuggets that you might have missed. So that's it for this day. Can't wait to see you all on Tuesday. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the absolute world for me that you will be here and watching this training. So you know the deal. The world needs more heart-centered leaders now more than ever. So damn it, let's go lead. Much love.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Adam Kadu podcast. If you would, take a moment to subscribe and click the bell icon so that way you get notified when future episodes air. Now here's the thing. If you are looking for the show notes, you can find a link to those below. If you're looking for the handles of the guests that I've been interviewing, things of that nature, you'll find that here. And if there's anything else that stood out to you in the episode, or if there's anything I can do for you, please leave a comment below, or for sure message me on Instagram if you'd like, as I'm always looking to hear what's working well for you and what caught your interest about the Adam Kadu podcast. So, time to go, time to change the world, time to help more people. Are you ready? Let's go do this thing. The world needs more leaders. So thanks again for listening to the Adam Kadu podcast.